Hello dear viewers, here is a new video that I will please you on my channel Manhwa Compilation. I hope you like my story and how I told it to you. Once upon a time, Fan Shin was one of the 10 bandits of the Valley of Phantom Smoke. He sincerely believed that his destiny was to be a bandit for the rest of his life, as he played a kind of role similar to Robin Hood, knowing his trade well. For his gang, there was no greater joy than watching the miserly tears of a rich man parting with his treasures, and there was no greater satisfaction than knowing that, thanks to them, the lives of a few people had become better. They robbed the rich to help the poor. Repay kindness with kindness, punish for crimes. That was their motto. But everything changed on that day. Besides the thunder in the clear sky, an unpleasant bonus turned out to be a bird. It was gray-brown, resembling a griffin. It sat, relishing its talons on powerful paws on a tombstone, savoring what had happened. It was a bird, and it didn't distinguish between good and evil. It was interested in only one thing: how many corpses there would be today, and whether they could all be satisfied. However, not even Francisco Goya could have captured the horror that unfolded before their eyes on canvas. Earlier, living people lay in pools of blood. Some corpses were in such unnatural poses that it seemed like they were marionettes being used to train a dog, not lifeless bodies. Almost everything protruded from them: arrows, swords, daggers. Xiao Jianmin from the Thunderous Sky sect single-handedly killed all 300 people in the Valley of Phantom Smoke. And now, he was killing what he thought was the last survivor of the valley. Blood dripped from the edge of his sword, which had just once again been inside a human body, and from the victim's mouth. We, the Valley of Phantom Smoke, always protected the citizens from injustice, only killing those who deserved it. Coughing and rising above the bodies of his comrades, the survivor addressed the one sowing death. You, cultivators, are responsible for helping ordinary people in society. But why do you help these corrupt officials destroy our valley? The one to whom this question was addressed was beautiful, tall, with blue eyes against black hair, and his current occupation gave him a strange grace. It was as if darkness had taken on a physical form and descended to the earth. And he didn't hesitate with his answer. You are mistaken. I couldn't care less about what you're doing here. This dialogue was heard by not 2, but 3 pairs of ears, as it was supposed. Fan Shin managed to hide among the ruins and corpses, choking back tears and covering his mouth, afraid to make even the slightest sound. And now, the last survivor fell onto the stone road from Xiao Jianmin's sword. Rising above the valley where vultures flew in anticipation of a hearty meal, he concluded the dialogue. I'm just following the law of the jungle. He's right. In this world, the weak are prey for the strong. Looking back and contemplating what had happened, still with tears in his eyes, Jin came to a conclusion. He must become stronger. And with this goal in mind, he joined the Thunderous Sky sect. Even though the people of this sect had evil hearts, they were more numerous, stronger, and more experienced. Insults and mockery became an integral part of the youth's life. Ahead lay a path of great difficulties, but the day would come when he would surpass Min, facing him head-on and avenging him for destroying his gang, and with them, the hope of a better life for the people. Not all members of the Thunderous Sky sect had yet awakened. The sun had barely risen above the horizon, penetrating with its rays into all the crevices, leaving no chance for darkness to linger in this world even for a moment. No one had thought that they would soon witness an unexpected turn of events. People were going about their business calmly, but a voice and a request spoken by that voice made them turn around and watch what was happening. Sir, please, accept me into the sect. Kneeling, crying, and pleading, clutching the legs of some gentleman. Fan Shin was now in the center of attention. He continued, I was once from a wealthy family, but all 300 of them were brutally murdered by a vile man. And as the sole survivor, me, weak and lonely, had to wander through the bandit-infested area. He turned his gaze to the man standing before him, trying to convey as much pain as possible in his eyes and make his face more pitiful. However, this mask of an unfortunate orphan did not elicit a burst of mercy and compassion from the gentleman. Do you have a letter of recommendation? He muttered to himself. Ignorant brat. Nephew, I don't have an uncle. Shin understood that the man meant a letter, but decided to play the role of the naive boy. Uncle and letter have the same pronunciation in Chinese. The man brushed this aside. Can you offer some treasure? How about you give me some? Our hero decided not to give in. Do you have any special abilities? I can eat. Now he was clinging to his neck. So you're a useless pig who came here to eat? His face expressed contempt and anger at the fact that some simple kid had dared to pester him on the street. Ultimately, our hero managed to create the impression of a fool, so he was asked the next question. Kid, do you even know where you are? Isn't this the thunderous sky sect? Xiao grinned broadly. Apparently, you do know after all. The master exclaimed in amazement. The thunderous sky sect has existed in the kingdom of Chu for 3,000 years, commands great respect, and has a mighty foundation. Every member of the sect is an expert. Recently, the elder brother of Xiao single-handedly annihilated all the bandits in the Valley of Phantom Smoke. He killed 9 out of 10 great bandits. Since you don't have a letter of recommendation, that means you're nobody. You have no treasures, which means you're a pauper. In the end, you're just a useless beggar with no special abilities. The master spat out the last words as if in disgust. This is the thunderous sky sect. We don't engage in charity, and we won't accept such a useless ragamuffin like you. Get lost. Quickly. In time with these words, he kicked Sin off his feet, and Sin, not expecting it, landed painfully on his back, sprawled on the square. This guy really dared to try. They'll never accept this reject into the sect, came from all sides. Disappointed, Fan Sin stood up and shook himself off, calling the master a stupid fat pig, thus hurting the ego of the Lord again with his head held high. He was even a little surprised. What did you say? I'm telling you, you're a stupid fat pig. He wasn't afraid to call things by their names. All his life, he fought against such ignoramuses. How dare you teach me with your pig snout? How dare you? For the first time in his life, he was so insulted. That's right, pighead. It should be an honor for you to accept me into your sect. Today you have acted very ignorantly. One day I will come and burn your sect's main temple to the ground. And to confirm his words, he sent the master. If Pighead was seething before, now the lid of the pot from the skyrocketing temperature of steam blew off. Kid, do you want to die? And rushed after Sin with all his might. But considering the size of the pig, he crashed in front of everyone's eyes. Damned fool. Maybe he's a donkey, only donkeys can run so fast, he noted to himself. He's too fast. And Fan Sin continued to taunt, like a little monkey that had stolen an orange and seemed small but so cheeky. Stupid fat pig, catch me if you can. The only thing the master's powers allowed was swearing. However, he decided to go a different way, to take the bastard not by force, but by wit. If someone catches him and brings him to me, I will register them without waiting. Sin did not expect this turn of events. This old man, can't you play fair? This stupid fat pig pulled such a dirty trick. That threw him off balance. The crowd didn't need to be told twice. Without looking, they rushed to the spot, trying to grab Fan. I caught him! No, I caught him first. You'll strangle me. It was so crowded. A couple of seconds, and under a pile of human bodies, the conclusion was drawn. This kid escaped! I'll leave first, and you guys will have to wait in line. Laughing out loud and making faces at the speed of wind, Sin dashed away. He planned to escape, but then he was grabbed by the leg, and he hung upside down, thanks to the man who managed to catch and hold the boy in a vertical position. You know a few weak moves, but that's not enough. Oh, thank you very much, brother. Here came the breathless and out-of-breath master. You are too kind, older brother. My name is Ho Ching. I needed only the tips of my fingers to catch this little monkey. There is no need for gratitude. Well, fine. First, I need to teach this brat a lesson, and then I'll register you. He already savored the moment when he would cause pain to this scoundrel and make him beg for mercy. I am an outer disciple of the sect of the Dreadful Sky. How dare you insult me? Even if I can't kill you today, I will teach you a lesson you will remember for the rest of your life. His eyes flashed menacingly. Don't touch my lord! Fate decided to mock the owner of the big belly, not allowing his hands to be free again. "I won't allow it." A little girl rushed to them. Disheveled hair, big eyes, and bracelets on her hands and feet gave her the appearance of a little desperate creature, rushing to protect her owner, not realizing that in the fight, she could lose her life. She stumbled, fell, and stood between the man holding Sin and the outer disciple. "I won't allow you to hurt my young lord." Her determination frightened her at some point, but there was nowhere to retreat. "Xiao Man, why did you come? I told you to hide." If before Fan cared only for himself, now he would have to think about the lives of both of them. "Barbarian? Doesn't this poor thing have a barbarian in her service?" The master was surprised for the umpteenth time today, to put it mildly, but Sin didn't care anymore, and he ordered Man, "Your young lord is much stronger than he seems. I don't need your help. Get out of here immediately." "Young lord, if I hadn't come, they would have hit you," the girl protested. The man holding Sin couldn't take it anymore. After all, he wanted to register as soon as possible. A mix of man and beast, disgusting playboy. He had no heart, because if he did, he wouldn't have kicked the poor girl as hard as he could. After flying a few meters, her body hit a tree trunk and a pool of blood formed beneath her. Now Fan Sin had another person he promised himself to send to the other world. "I swear, I'll kill you." "Fine, I'll be waiting." The newly minted killer cut him off. People began to approach the girl, noticing with horror that grass was sprouting from her blood. A few more seconds and a mighty tree stood before them. Realizing what had happened, the master was shocked. The lineage of the wood elementals. This barbarian slave possesses a rare lineage that all sects are fighting for. From the sky, surrounded by cranes, a girl in blue descended. Sighs of admiration swept through the square. Falling to her knees, the master bowed. Outer disciple Yusan Lian greets elder sister Lin Yun. She stepped on the ground. With her majestic gait, she approached the girl. She touched her blood. She was surprised, thoughtful, and then lifted her up. She ordered the master to add the possessor of the lineage of the wood elementals to the list of incoming disciples, intending to leave. But Xiaoman said, "Don't beat young Lord Fan Sin." "Which one of you is Fan Sin?" Lin Yun asked. "Let go," Sin addressed the man. He barely managed to control his desire to throw him away and removed his hand. "I am the young Lord Fan Sin. Give me back my girl." In his eyes, there was anger that someone dared to touch his girl and even throw her away like a bag of garbage. However, after a moment, a vessel similar to a small corked vase appeared in the hands of Lin Yun's son. He looked at it with disbelief. "From this moment on, it's no longer yours." Pills of innate violet chi. The pigmaster's luck was once again not on his side today. A spiritual elixir that will help a slave remove their status. I'm absolutely sure. Giving something like this to a beggar. It's too much. Watching with indignation at what was happening. "But," said Xiao, looking at the vessel, "I don't need a spiritual elixir." It seemed to Lin Yun's sister that she had misheard. "Unless you accept me into the sect." The desire to join the sect overwhelmed her love for the girl. "Add him too, but he has ordinary talent. So do as you please," she said to the pigmaster and flew away, taking the girl with her. "All right, I will follow your instructions." "What is this rundown place?" Fan probably thought he would be taken to a palace where he would immediately be provided with a lot of weapons for his studies. However, he was brought to an ordinary 3-story bamboo house with a plain interior. No luxury, no extravagance. "So this is the sect of the fierce sky, ignorant boy. This is the herb garden of the sect of the fierce sky." The master wanted to beat up this youngster again today, but at this moment, he no longer had that authority. Meanwhile, our hero was just looking around in bewilderment. "Herb garden? Didn't I become a member of the sect? Why did you bring me here?" "Of course, to take care of the garden. Where else will a disciple get the spiritual herbs for their cultivation?" he asked, trying to understand if the boy was pretending or really that foolish. "Are you saying that I'm here just to be a menial laborer? Many fight for this job." He took a small book out of his pocket and tossed it to him, as if giving alms. There was a kimono lying upside down on the bench. The book had the inscription, "The Chi Book of the Sect of the Fierce Sky." What is this little book? This is the Chi Book of the Sect of the Fierce Sky that everyone strives to obtain when entering this job, he said with an important look, raising a finger. What is it for? What is it? Questions kept coming. This is the secret of our Sect of the Fierce Sky. No outsider is allowed to obtain it or have access to it. The master was already bursting with frustration over the boy's ignorance. You will reach the first level of Chi cultivation and become an official disciple of the Sect of the Fierce Sky if you take your cultivation seriously, based on this book. But with your talent, ask your senior brothers if you don't understand something. He finished and slammed the door loudly. They will surely be kind enough to guide you, he muttered angrily to himself. It's not working out at all. Maybe he was right. Maybe I really have no talent. He sighed sadly, sitting with the book for an hour now. This liar deceived me. She said I could become a disciple, but in the end they just made me a menial laborer. She's just mocking honest people. He was already thinking of giving up, unsure if he could become a disciple, reaching the first stage. He didn't believe he could achieve it in his whole life. Trying to immerse himself in the book, he wasn't sure if this thing would help him with his cultivation. But it looked very much like a high-ranking book. Ninth uncle, why didn't you tell me what this thing was when you gave it to me? He had another question. What's wrong with it? His eyes widened in surprise, as if he had suddenly found himself in an endless stream of fire. And this fire was penetrating his mind. He didn't even understand whether he was feeling pain from this sensation or just in shock from what was happening. Gradually, he began to understand. The book on creating the fierce heavenly Ki was suitable for people at the spiritual stage, as it was a guide for novice cultivators. It seemed he was starting to understand that this was Chi energy. In general, the spiritual stage is the first stage of spiritual development. Each stage has different levels. The spiritual stage includes 9 levels. After passing these levels, the cultivator advances to the next stage. Soon the energy completely entered Fan Xin. It disappeared, completely dissolving into him, and in bewilderment, he fell onto his bed, hitting his head on it. However, he no longer had books in his hands. This book, did it pour into my head? Maybe it really is a first-class book. I not only felt Chi energy, but the cultivation methods also entered my head, he noted to himself. His nameplate fell out of his kimono pocket. Automatically, he bent down to pick it up from the stone floor, but someone stepped on it. 3 students stood before him, grinning. Are you Fan Xin? So this is the brat who angered the manager? He's just a little kid. It doesn't matter. I just need to follow orders and teach him a lesson. You're standing on my nameplate, Xin pointed out to the one speaking, pointing at his foot. The gang leader grabbed the boy who had just finished his sentence by the top of his kimono. Listen here, kid. I'll say it only once. Don't mess around with me. His shadow loomed menacingly over the victim. The boss is right. The boss is right, the boys standing behind him shouted. So, are you here to make fun of me? Fan Xin's eyes widened with fear. Well, what if we are? Do you want to hit me? I'll call for help. Go ahead. There's no one else here, so you can scream until your throat tears apart. They laughed hysterically. Don't hit me. I'll do anything. Just don't hit me, our hero pleaded, tears in his eyes, grabbing his head. Ha ha ha. You're so spineless. Don't worry. We'll make sure to teach you properly. With one hand, he tightened the boy's upper clothing, and with the other, he gave him a strong blow that sent Xin flying to the other end of the room. He understood that he had only recently felt the Chi energy, and he needed more time to cultivate it, so for now, it would be better to just follow their orders, even if it went beyond the understanding of normal people. Several days passed, while the gang leader lounged under an umbrella, surrounded by his servants who tried to please him in every way. Fan Xin had to collect medicinal herbs under the scorching sun, in the wind, and in the rain. He had to wash dirty clothes when others turned up their noses, and he had to chop wood when others didn't want to dirty their hands. While the rest enjoyed a sumptuous meal at one table, making toasts, he barely received a bowl of soup, which he ate in the corner of the dining room. But he knew that it wouldn't be long before they changed their opinion about him. The moon shone. The whole world rested, preparing for a new day. Except for one person. He got up, lit a candle, and went to the bedroom. It's already dark. It's time to shut up these dogs and beat them. Fan Xin's time had come. He lightly slapped the boss's cheek. Boss, boss. What kind of psychos seek death in the middle of the night? With these words, the dagger's edge passed right next to his eyes, after which it struck. It's unlikely that anyone could sleep peacefully after such a scream. Everyone in the area heard it. The others also got up, rushing to their leader. The sight that met their eyes horrified them. Now they were not afraid for their boss's life, but for their own. You scoundrel! Scoundrel! The boss barely whispered, collapsing at the attacker's feet. A red puddle spread on the carpet beneath him. Oops, looks like I missed, Fan Xin said, satisfied. Die! The boss got up and tried to strike the young one, but he possessed the chi energy, which nourished him, and it now shone from inside his body. A kick from his leg guaranteed the gang leader a broken jaw. He swung again, but the defeated one began to beg for mercy. Those who watched were petrified with fear, biting their nails in tension. Wretch, keep screaming. No one will help you, so you can scream your heart out. Now the gang leader found himself in a situation similar to Fan Xin's a few days ago. Satisfied with himself, he picked up the clothes lying nearby, wiped the blade, and said, "Forgive me. I made too much noise and woke up the older brothers," and began to approach them slowly. "It's all because of him. He ordered us to make fun of you. Let us go. We were blind and ignorant. We just didn't pay attention to winter. Now, their priorities have changed." All right? Satisfied with himself, Fan Xin went to sleep. Now Fan Xin sat under an umbrella in the lotus position, and now they worked on him. Now he gave orders and controlled them, and they were drenched in large drops of sweat. And he enjoyed the good weather and the wonderful view, feeling the power. Watching them work, he practiced meditation until the others laid down their hands. "Boss Fan, all the herbs have been gathered." The former gang leader addressed him. After a while, he was astonished. "Boss Fan, have you already used all the herbs?" He had nothing left but to teleport for the plants again. At some point, Xin decided to ask them, "How far have you guys progressed in this book of Chi of the Stormy Sky?" The eldest of them confessed, "Boss Fan, I've been cultivating according to this book every day for 6 years, but I still can't feel the Chi." "They've been cultivating for only 3 years, he pointed at the others, "so they're even worse off. Among tens of thousands of laborers like us, only a few become disciples following this method. People like Boss Fan, I've only met 1 in 1,000. No, 1 in 10,000. Now he understood why they respected him so much. He had a special quality. "All right, you can go wash my clothes." Satisfied with himself, he allowed them. "Yes, boss, leave it to me," they assured him with undisguised joy, rushing off to their tasks. However, there were already enough herbs, but for some reason, there had been no breakthrough in his spiritual development so far. What was the problem? This was the only question bothering him at the moment. While they brought him tea to quench his thirst, he saw the master rising above the mountain peaks. He rubbed his eyes several times, not believing what he saw. Could this be an illusion? Is this kid commanding Wang Ji as if it's his own business? 4 people were working in the field, collecting medicinal herbs. Unnoticed, a stranger approached one of the workers. "What kind of lunatic wants to die?" shouted the former boss, struggling to rise with the help of a crutch. However, he immediately stopped himself. Standing before him was the master. "Oh, Manager Yue, I'm very sorry." The others also bowed and showed their respect. "Wanzi, where is that boy?" Manager Yue asked, addressing Boss Fa. "Well, more precisely, that boy is still sleeping in his room," Wanzi replied, wiping sweat from his brow. "I ordered you to make his life a living hell. Do you really think this is what hell looks like?" The old manager questioned them. With no other choice, they knelt down and grabbed the master's legs. "Manager Yue, I'm useless. He's too ruthless. Look at my leg. If I hadn't submitted to him, I would have lost my leg," Wanzi pleaded. "You worthless trash! Don't tell me you couldn't even strike him?" The master, infuriated, struck him in the jaw. But Manager Yue, this lunatic possessed spiritual energy. We couldn't even get close to him, Wanzi replied, crying and rubbing his injured spot. Spiritual energy. Are you sure? Manager Yue was skeptical. Yes, Manager Yue. We saw it with our own eyes. They all confirmed in unison. Take me to him, he either ordered or requested. All right. Oh, and before we go, please fetch some herbs from the field, he ordered with a malicious smirk. Manager Yue, collecting herbs without permission is a serious crime, Master Z reminded him with fear in his eyes. Do as I say, I have my ways, Manager Yue replied. All right. Fan Xin sat on his bed with closed eyes, deep in thought. I still haven't broken through to the first level of the spiritual stage. But he couldn't dwell on it. His thoughts were interrupted. Fan Xin, how dare you break the law and gather herbs without permission? Yue stated as he entered without even a greeting. You've been caught red-handed. What do you have to say in your defense? Xin remained calm. Oh, my esteemed senor. Are you trying to frame me? And so what? I'm in charge of this herbal field. If you come with me to the administration, I'll make sure you get a lighter punishment. If you resist, don't blame me for using force. The master presented the options. Pig, I'm not as helpless as I used to be. Qi energy surrounded him like a halo, a bright flame around his body. Don't get too confident just because you've developed spiritual energy. Yue tried to put him in his place. In his head, Yue thought, I didn't expect this rascal to actually develop spiritual energy. It's been barely 10 days. His progress is alarming. This fat pig is just an external disciple. At least he's on the first level of the spiritual stage. He has more spiritual energy than me. Fan Xin realized that Yue was stronger, thinking, I need to get closer to him before I exhaust all my spiritual energy. He lunged at Yue, who managed to grab a sword, although he didn't understand the power since the weapon broke into two right before his eyes. This scoundrel knows how to strengthen his body with spiritual energy. No wonder it hurt. Thoughts raced through his mind, one after another. This is a formation of swords that can only be used when reaching the first level of the spiritual stage. You won't be able to escape at your current level. Yue shared a snippet of his knowledge. Honestly, I didn't expect you to develop your spiritual energy. But now it will all end. And the fight began. Swords rained down on Xin, piercing through his defenses and causing him pain. What do you say now if you kneel and submit to me? Yue asked. Xin replied through the pain. Dream on, pig. He then directed the swords towards his adversary. Xin twisted and turned, attempting to get through them and reach the master. How naive, Yue said at that moment. Something took over Fan Xin, an uncontrollable ego, and he was transported to his past. Hunger, cold, poverty, filth, darkness prevailed in that tiny wooden village. A while ago, a bureaucrat had arrived, taking even the last pennies and morsels of food from the unfortunate people. Useless peasants. Did you think you wouldn't have to pay taxes just because there was a disaster this year? Only in your dreams. Even if you die of hunger, you still have to pay the full taxes. The people stood before him, unable to say anything. The parents of this brat died because they refused to pay taxes, and this little one even dared to hide food from us. He pointed at a little boy, standing on his knees before him. Today, I'll show you what happens if you don't pay your taxes. He drew his sword, preparing to behead the child. Swish. A moment later, the bureaucrat's head rolled on the ground. Bandits! Bandits from the Valley of the Ghostly Mist are here! The soldier tried to defend himself with swords, but they couldn't match the martial arts skills of the people from the valley. Why are you on your knees? Fan Xin asked the little boy. The Valley of the Ghostly Mist. I've heard of you. Aren't you going to kill us? The boy looked at him with innocent eyes. We never kill innocent people. We only target corrupt officials and merchants, he clarified, addressing the rumors surrounding the valley. Can I join you? I want to avenge my parents. No, you're too young. Find us when you grow up. The last words drowned in the cries of despair from the soldiers of the official. The little boy still had many unanswered questions. Ha ha ha, this is so stupid. Ha ha ha, look, a wanted poster. Now he's famous. Fan Xin and 9 other famous bandits sat at one table enjoying a lavish dinner, examining a wanted poster of one of them. But this picture is a bit wrong. Haha. He compared the drawn portrait to his own appearance, a clean-shaven man, probably the leader among them. Uncle, don't make fun of me. Little boss looked upset. Ha ha ha. They continued to have fun. Little boss, we don't even have wanted posters. Now you're our official mascot. It means you've made a huge contribution to this raid. Saying these words, the clean-shaven man patted the boy on the head. Right. This kid was so cool when he attacked the officer's dog and killed it. The others continued to admire. Let's celebrate this. Let's drink. Let's drink. Let's support the little boss. The toast was made. However, they didn't get to drink their cups. The front door flew off its hinges, letting in the wind and raising dust. Cuff. What's happening? Are the officials seeking revenge? No one understood what was happening. That is until the older brother Xiao from the Valley of the Fierce Sky appeared. Just one person, but the onlookers couldn't fathom how one person could possess so much power. Maybe he's a cultivator after all, the gang leader said. So, cultivators exist. Why did a cultivator come to our valley? More questions arose. May I inquire what brings you to our Ghost Mist Valley? The clean-shaven man tried to establish contact. 301, 302, 303. It seems everyone's here. With these words, he drew his sword. Yes. Stop him faster. The order was given. But the lifeless bodies were already falling to the ground. The clean-shaven man turned to the boy. Nephew, are you all right? Listen carefully, Fan Xin. Hide and wait for him to leave. Then head to the 4th tree at the entrance to the valley. There's something buried for you. It will be a book. Cherish it. You must survive. After these parting words, he headed towards the unwelcome guest. The Valley of Ghostly Smoke has always protected the common people and killed those who deserved death. As a cultivator, you should protect the people, so why are you working for these corrupt officials? You're mistaken. I've never cared about what you do here. Sin sat there, covering his mouth, crying and trying to stay quiet and still. Sword swing, and the 9th head fell to the ground. Strong ones will always hunt the weak. He turned and headed towards the exit. He's right. I should have figured it out myself. This world, where the strong hunt the weak. Fan Xin came to this realization. But the battle continued. Fan Xin was so powerful that he could destroy all of the attackers' attacks. Yue couldn't understand how this boy had gained so much strength in such a short time. This kid's spiritual energy can rival swordsmanship? Did he burn his meridians? It's a self-destructive form of cultivation, he thought, not himself. By that time, Sin was bleeding from his mouth. The book in his head and the powers in his body made astonishing discoveries for the boy. Power doesn't burn, it grows. All because of the mirror of demons and gods, yin-yang? A little more, and he broke through the sword barrier, shattering the wooden sword that Yue had wielded, and stood in front of him. How did he break through? Yue realized that Fan was stronger than him. Now, instead of our hero, there was some incomprehensible energy mass in his place. Another second, and the mass flew towards the master, extended a hand, and struck him in the face with force. The elder didn't even feel one of his teeth fall out, and blood poured from his nose. He nearly lost consciousness. This feeling, it seems I've reached the first level of spiritual shift. Sin figured out. Yue, on the other hand, lay unconscious. The others watching, unable to tear themselves away, shivered in silence. Night had already descended, and the first stars had risen. Meanwhile, the former boss reported, "Boss Fan, the food is ready." 3 more guys stood behind the current leader of the black laborers. So, what were you trying to achieve, Elder Swine? Did you only want to teach me a lesson? He asked the recovering master. That's right, young Fan. Otherwise, would I have used a wooden sword? I just wanted to vent. I'm not as brave as you, and I've never killed people. Yi replied with respect and admiration. Signaling to the others, Fan watched as they untied the master. Honestly, now I'm completely convinced of your abilities. I've been watching the medicine field for so many years, but I've never seen anyone reach the first level of spiritual shift so quickly. Does it really matter so much to you now? Or even after beating you up? Sin no longer held a grudge against him. Your cultivation has reached the first level. Tomorrow you'll need luck to ring the bell of the pure heart and become an outer disciple. I'd like to congratulate you in advance. Bowing his head and clasping his hands in front of him, Yue said, I accept your kind words. In response to his congratulations, Fan Xin smiled. I'll ring the bell at dawn. As the first rays of the sun appeared in the east, Fan Xin set out on his journey. Those remaining in the herbal garden wished him a safe journey and waved their hands until he disappeared. Fan was proud, not of himself, but of what he was becoming, and soon he would be able to seek revenge. The bell hung in the most beautiful garden. The dew had not yet dried, so it sparkled like little crystals everywhere, on the leaves, on the grass, on the treetops. It hurt to look at it. Keep it up, he praised himself and touched the bell. Just one touch, but the sound was heard everywhere. In the garden, in the mountains, in the villages, the echo of the bell told everyone today that someone had once again attained the status of an outer disciple. Meanwhile, in the Grozny Sky Valley of the Celestial Kingdom, two people were playing Wei Qi. One of them got distracted for a moment and missed their move. Why did you get distracted? His game partner asked. It doesn't matter. It's just a sign of fate, he replied. Why did you say that? The other asked, stroking his beard, then took his place on the board, removing his piece and placing it in his pot. Let's continue playing, the first one suggested. We cannot change the future. Meanwhile, Xin stood before the wide-open gates. Young Taoist, did you just ring the bell of pure thoughts? A man in white-gray robes greeted him. Indeed, Elder Huai. Now you are an outer disciple of Qingyun sect. Come in. You will be escorted soon. Something strange happened in his pocket. Xin reached in and looked at his board. The inscription on it had changed. Now it read, Outer Disciple Fan Xin. Where is he? He looked around trying to find the elder. Well, whatever. Inner gates. Here I come, he exclaimed and marched on. The place was beautiful and serene. At one moment, beautiful architecture and the grandeur of nature created an incredible ensemble. Strange. A man in armor said to Xin on his right. It's him, Xiao Jianmin. He won't recognize me, will he? Xin thought with apprehension as he looked at him. Nothing but a headache, finding those 10 thieves. Jianmin finished, rose on his ball, as if on an airplane carpet, and flew away. Xiao Jianmin, I'm here. Sooner or later, I'll become stronger than you. He promised himself and his slain uncle. Are you the new outer disciple? A voice appeared seemingly out of nowhere, asking Fan Xin. He could only turn his head from side to side, trying to understand who was addressing him. A second later, a guy in white and blue kimono with golden trim appeared right in front of him. Xin didn't expect such a dramatic entrance. Junior Fan Xin from the 3rd District of Bin greets the senior. The person in front of him greeted. Name token. He extended his hand. Okay. Xin was about to approach and hand it to him, but the guy made a beckoning gesture and the card flew to him through the air. Rank D abilities? Another reject, the senior remarked disdainfully as he looked at the card. Rank D abilities? Xin didn't notice that letter at first. Junior Fan! Yu, who was running behind him, finally caught up. Senior C... You! He greeted the master in surprise. Brother Sanlian, today I'm in charge of the distribution. What are you doing here? The young man standing next to Fan Xin asked. Meanwhile, Yu pulled a small pouch from his kimono sleeve, which made a jingling sound, most likely containing money, and handed it to the distributor. This is my acquaintance. Let me handle this. The young man's face brightened. You're right, brother Sanlian. He smiled and prepared to go about his business. Then I'll leave you 2 old good friends. Go already. Get out of here. We're the only thing Jin wished for right now. I didn't expect you to come and greet me personally. Sorry for the inconvenience. Oh, it's not a problem. We're cut from the same cloth. Happy to help. Unexpectedly for Shin, the senior hugged him. By the way, what abilities do you have? I was actually going to ask you about that. What does rank D abilities mean? Fan asked, stroking his chin and looking straight into his eyes. Outer disciples are divided into 4 ranks, A, B, C, and D, based on their abilities. Are you kidding me? Do I have such terrible abilities? Don't worry about it. I also have rank D abilities. More than half of the outer disciples are rank D. Yu tried to reassure him. Abilities are innate, Shin remarked. Senior, take me to where I can settle in. But San Lian had slightly different plans. Settling in is important, of course, but first, we need to do something important. What? Shin asked. The senior just took the boy's hand and led him to the center. The sign read, Magical Artifact Pavilion. After attaining the status of Outer Disciple, you must come to the Magical Artifact Pavilion to choose the one you can use. You have only one opportunity, so choose wisely. The senior brother recited, Don't rely on these layabouts. I can't escort you all the way. By the way, Junior Fan, the inner gates may seem inaccessible, but in reality, they are no different from ordinary ones. Upon entering the Magical Artifact Pavilion, you need to concentrate and... Don't worry, Shin began to reassure him. Such audacity! How can an outsider invade the Qingyun sect's Magical Artifact Pavilion? Now Fan understood what Yu meant by layabouts. The recently promoted Outer Disciple Fan Shin has come to obtain a magical artifact in accordance with the sect's rules. The boy introduced himself and presented his nameplate. Newcomers are not familiar with the rules. This time, we'll forgive your intrusion into the pavilion. The one speaking resembled a rat, and his mustache seemed to be trying to sniff out how much money the boy had. But you haven't come to the Magical Artifact Pavilion empty-handed, have you? The junior brother didn't understand what he meant. So One of the triad members behind him wanted to berate the newcomer, but the one who looked like a rat stopped him. He's young, but he understands the rules. The senior brother was just teasing you. You can enter and choose a magical artifact, but inviting him in with a gesture. You must be extremely cautious, he warned, squinting his eyes. Doors opened and all 4 entered a large room. The boy's eyes darted around. So many artifacts, swords, daggers, various items lay on shelves, cabinets, the floor, windowsills. Unnoticed by him, one of the guys took out a small box. Each student is given a choice of a magical artifact. Along with an incense stick, he began to light it. After all, we must follow the rules. The rat decided to get even with him. The incense stick had already started burning. There were about 2,000 or 3,000 magical artifacts, and from their appearance, it was impossible to tell if they were normal or not. It was not surprising why the rat was satisfied. If I start choosing at random, chances are I'll pick something useless. Flying swords made of red copper with 3 engraved magic formations are broken. He looked at them and continued. Who's this? He said aloud, and started rushing between the cabinets. Has the kid completely lost his mind? The trio watching the situation shook their heads. A flag of raging flames, capable of releasing the intention of fire with 7 magic formations, is broken. He noticed a small flag. A lower-rank flying sword, made of first-class steel, engraved with 1 magic formation, weak spiritual energy. Just looking at it, all the information about magical artifacts simply appears in my mind. Our hero marveled. Is it because of the mirror of gods and demons, yin-yang? I can even see the cultivation level of others. The rat is at the 3rd level of spiritual shift. Now it's clear why he's so cheeky. Unlike him, the other 2 don't have any level at all. Apparently, all the magical artifacts here are either broken or have low spiritual energy, or the magic formations are damaged, he continued, surveying the items. I think they've hidden all the valuable items and will only take them out if given a bribe. What's this? He was drawn to a demon mask. 9,000-year demon mask, a medium-rank magical artifact, contains 36 magic formations, intact. A transformative magical artifact that changes appearance and key circulation in the body when worn. Having 36 magic formations allows one to transform into 36 different people. Excellent for assassination and robbery. Time's up, Junior, the rat concluded with a satisfied face. I don't remember the effects of this mask, he looked at it. I choose it. Congratulations on obtaining the treasure. You can go now. The eldest bid farewell, glancing at the book. Phew, false alarm. They're complete idiots. How lucky I am today. Sin breathed out as he left the pavilion. Meanwhile, the three were mocking him. He chose a broken mask that was used to hide dust after cleaning. Look at what a treasure he found. And what did he want, insulting us? He's daydreaming. When he comes back to change his magical artifact, I'll strip him of everything. The rat had already heard the jingle of coins in his pocket. Yue thoughtfully examined the mask. So much time spent there, and he chose this mask. He couldn't understand why the junior made such a choice. Don't worry, Senior Yue. I have a plan. Yue was afraid to even ask what kind of plan it was. All right, now that you've chosen, I'll take you to a place where you can settle in. I've been waiting for you to say that. After some time, they arrived at the right place. Finally, we've arrived, and it's far. Sanlian was no longer able to walk, and a terrible shortness of breath hit him every 100 meters. Before their eyes appeared a beautiful view. Excellent place. Mountains and a river nearby, and it's inaccessible. With the palisade, soldiers definitely won't get through, Fan said, looking around. Palisade? Soldiers? What nonsense are you talking about? Sanlian was puzzled. Senior Yue, which house is mine? Next to mine, there's an empty house. You can take it. We'll take care of each other. By the way, he almost forgot, handing him a book with a stone. What's this? What is it? So you don't even know. It's a spiritual stone, a material for cultivation. Your further improvement depends on it. For those like us with D-ranked abilities, they give one every 3 months. Make sure to keep it. One every 3 months? This sect is so greedy. You underestimated the value of spiritual stones. A red one can be sold for 100 gold coins in the mortal world. Considering our minor abilities, it's good that they give us one every 3 months. It was clear that he was happy with even such gifts. Senior Yue, I'll return to practice. Go ahead. I have other things to do. I'll come for a drink with you in the evening. They said their goodbyes, and each went their own way. Opening the door, Sin froze, surveying the room. It was ordinary. A table, 2 chairs, windows, a stone floor. Our hero jumped onto the bed and began to jump on it. Yahoo! My goodness! This place is so much better than the medicine field, he continued, lying down with his hands behind his head. Soon his thoughts went in another direction, and he took out the book. After some exploration of the book, he concluded that he saw no significant difference between the fundamental principles of Qi cultivation and Qi carpet. Only in the fundamental principles of Qi cultivation. The description was much more detailed. There, it talked not only about the movement of spiritual energy through meridians, but also about training for improvement using spiritual stones. He took out the stone. I should try to practice using the method from the book. He placed it in front of him and started. After some time, the stone lit up with an energy aura, then rose. First to the height of his abdomen, then his chest, and dissolved, releasing the energy and giving it to Fan Xin, while its external red shell simply turned into dust. It was already nighttime outside, and he was still sitting on the bed. While he used the stone, his spiritual energy began to grow rapidly. However, the stone didn't last long, and it was all gone. He looked at the remnants of the stone, stretched, and decided that now he would go for a walk and ask the chubby guy where else he could get spiritual stones. Only they barely missed each other. As Sin was leaving the house, he accidentally hit his older brother right in the face with the door. Older you, were you standing behind the door? Didn't we agree that I would come in the evening to have a drink? You opened the door on time, you replied, offended. Embracing each other, they entered the house. The spiritual stone is depleted. That's why I wanted to visit you. How was I supposed to know you would come so soon? What are you saying, depleted? He continued to be amazed by this boy's abilities. Yeah, In my opinion, they wear out pretty quickly. One won't be enough for me, Fan concluded, uncorking a bottle of wine. That's what I was going to ask you. How can you obtain them? It takes me 10 days and nights to purify such a stone, and you managed it in less than a day? He was no longer surprised, but simply trying to accept the fact that this boy's spiritual growth was different from his. Well, I thought everyone did it this way. I've never heard of anyone purifying so quickly. The older brother shook his head. Although there's one place where you can find more spiritual stones, but it's useless to you right now. Older brother, tell me. Sin's eyes lit up with a new idea. Among the outer disciples, many come from wealthy families. They lack materials and treasures for cultivation, so they're willing to pay a large sum for them. The older brother continued, raising the wine to his lips. Therefore, some sect members obtain materials through various channels. From time to time, they open the ghostly market deep in the bamboo forest. The sect knows about its existence, but it's still illegal, so they don't talk about it. Therefore, ghostly market participants disguise themselves and agree to trade for money or items with each other, regardless of their identity. At the ghostly market, as long as you have plenty of money, getting spiritual stones is not a problem. But knowing about it is useless because you don't have any money. Do you know when the ghostly market will open next? Sin asked eagerly, looking at you. Why do you ask? The ghostly market opened the next night. At its entrance stood 2 young guards. Younger one, why have you come here? They asked cautiously. Naturally, to exchange something. They exchanged glances. Seems like you're a reasonable person, come in. And they stepped aside to let him pass. As expected, the mask helped him not only change his external appearance, but also his voice. The mask itself could change its appearance. Meanwhile, there were already a lot of people in the market, all of them wearing masks. There was everything there. Ghostly market, here I am. Meanwhile, people were already busy trading, some selling stones, others selling various artifacts here and there. There were far more people than Fan Sin had expected. The dimpled jug his 4th uncle had given him could make people sleep for at least 2 hours with proper use. But what could he do when there were so many people here? Brothers, listen up. One person stood out from the crowd. Each of you came here to trade. Let's not waste time and do everything fairly. He moved slightly aside, addressing everyone. To tell the truth, many of you have just joined the sect, and what you need the most right now is spiritual stones. It so happens that I have several dozen of them with me, and I plan to give 1 to each of you. Outside the market, one would cost 100 gold, but I'll take 80. If someone wants to buy, speak up. The voice of this person seemed familiar to Fan, and he decided to take a closer look at him using the yin-yang mirror of gods and demons. People around him began to whisper, "So many spiritual stones! 20 coins cheaper. Anyone want to buy? I want to check the spiritual stones." A man from the crowd stepped forward. "Whatever you like." The merchant shrugged. The man took them in his hands, and they started to activate. "They're genuine. I want 5. And I'll take 3. 240 gold. Leave me 2. After a few seconds, all the spiritual stones were already reserved. This spiritual energy, Fan began to understand. I've seen exactly this energy in someone before. And he realized it was the same rat-faced guy from the magical artifact pavilion. No wonder he has so many spiritual stones. It seems he plans to profit from them. Brothers, I'm sorry, but I've sold all the spiritual stones. Rat-faced guy turned the bag inside out. You won't be able to buy anything today. I'll come back next time. He gave those who couldn't buy any a faint hope. I also have something. I'll exchange it for spiritual stones or a magical artifact. A man stood behind the crowd. He stood out among the others, being taller and more robust. I'm not sure if any of you can afford it. He extended his hand, and a sword appeared right in his palm. How did he draw the sword? Does he have Duntian's ring on his hand? Fan realized. It's an abbey ring or a storage ring, Sin understood. He's emitting quite frightening spiritual energy. He's definitely unusual. Meanwhile, the strange stranger continued. This is a middle-ranking flying sword. 9-serpent golden flame sword, a magical artifact I bought when I joined the sect. It's useless to me now, but it might come in handy for younger disciples. I bought this artifact for 10,000 gold, so I'll take at least 100 spiritual stones for it. The stranger set his price. 100? Who can afford it? Older brother, can you give a little discount? The one who had tested the stones pleaded. I'm afraid no one can afford it. Fine, I only came to try, so I didn't think anyone would be able to buy it. He was already about to leave. Hold on a minute. I have a magical artifact that's in no way inferior to this sword. It was sin. I wonder if I attracted the older brother with that. Really? The strange stranger asked. Fan took a pot out of his bag. See for yourself. Younger, your jug. The stranger took it in his hands and examined it. A real magical artifact, but of a low rank. Elder, I think you are mistaken. In response to your words, I will show everyone present what a real artifact is. Meanwhile, he activated his spiritual power, preventing the magical artifact, the pot, from affecting him. Open your eyes wider. He may seem weak only because of your carelessness. In essence, Fan Xin was a bandit, and finding himself among people who did not hesitate to steal and kill, he decided to use their own methods against them. Meanwhile, those around him tried to get as close as possible to the pot, trying to understand what kind of magical power it emitted, and the little pot simply began to lull them to sleep, leaving them no choice but to fall asleep on the ground. The mysterious stranger still stood, but didn't finish, as he fell with the others. But the little pot hadn't finished yet. It still affected one more person, Chrysalov. You? The disciples are a bit too trusting. With these words, Chrysalov also fell. Consider it a lesson from me. Hey, let's go! Something happened there. The guards rushed to the scene. This is bad. I shouldn't have relaxed so much. How could I forget about the guards? Fan thought in a panic. As far as I remember, their cultivation level is higher than mine. I'm in a very bad situation right now. It's time to retreat. However, they were already successful. Is this a jug? They looked at each other in confusion. Stop! What did you do to them? And they pulled out their spheres. Who is he anyway? Why did he come here? The conversation between them was interrupted, and they both rushed at the young man. Damn, I couldn't buy more time. The sword was already at his throat, cutting the skin and releasing a thin stream of blood down his chest. Well, it's over for me. Here, I'll find my death. However, he was lucky, and they didn't know what kind of pot it was, so they fell asleep too. Finally, it worked. This time I saved myself. He exhaled. And now let's see the treasures you have collected for me. I will carefully examine each one of you. He didn't intend to miss even the smallest, cheapest, and unnecessary artifact. Yui underestimated the power of the smoky pitcher. The sun had already risen, birds were singing, and they were still lying there asleep. The mysterious stranger who possessed the sword was the first to wake up. What? He looked at his right hand. It was empty. Where's my ring? Startled, he looked up and the birds took off in a flock above him. Fan Xin sat in his small house, focused. I think I heard someone's voice. Whatever, let's see what I managed to get. And he activated the magic ring. He was able to acquire a sword, a pile of spiritual stones, and coins. The ring turned out to be very convenient. It would have been too suspicious to carry everything in a bag. I won't be able to use this sword with my current cultivation level. It's a good item. It will definitely come in handy in the future. Now, let's focus on cultivating. He didn't waste a second and got to work. 3 months later. Young Fan! Yui, the elder brother, was knocking on his door. However, Xin paid no attention to him. His progress in cultivation was slowing down, and he had run out of stones. I've been at the peak of the first level of spiritual breakthrough for over a month now, and there's no progress. Young Fan, are you there? Yui pondered finding him again and heading to the ghostly market for spiritual stones. After contemplating, he walked to the door. Senior. Yui, don't shout, I was sleeping. Young Fan, over the past few months, you've only eaten a few times and spent the rest of the time sleeping. Whether accusing or worrying about him, Yui said, you can't do this every day. You're exaggerating again. Shin covered his ears. I was going to invite you to see the department head for a job since you can get a spiritual stone every month, but you don't want to. How will you survive if you're so lazy at such a young age? Well, anyway, you won't listen. So, today is the day when they distribute spiritual stones to D-ranked disciples. Let's go. At least you should get one. It's great to get one spiritual stone already. By the way you sound, you have plenty of them. Fan Xin thought it was best not to tell the plump guy about the spiritual stones. With those cheeks, he clearly couldn't keep his mouth shut. Getting one spiritual stone is already good. Let's hurry. And Xin began to get ready. When they arrived at the Qingmu Pavilion, they saw 4 elders sitting at a long table. Each of them had a small book where they marked the names of the recipients and a small bag of spiritual stones. In this sect, they even distribute spiritual stones in order, dividing them by abilities. A-ranked disciples have none, and we have to squeeze in. Who knew there would only be D-ranked disciples here? Such a crowd, Sanlian complained while wiping off sweat. I think, leaning towards Shin's ear, he continued, it's because of the incident at the ghostly market 3 months ago. Without showing it, the younger one decided to inquire, what happened there? I heard that 3 months ago, a mysterious man appeared at the ghostly market and cleaned out everyone who participated. I've never heard of such a ghostly market, it's the first time. Since they haven't caught that guy yet, the ghostly market still hasn't reopened. As it turned out, many D-ranked students from affluent families relied on buying various artifacts. None of them had ever stood in line just for a single stone. And now, with the ghostly market closed, they had to come here and wait. But are there too many of them? Fan Xin will have to find other ways to obtain spiritual stones. Now it's his turn. Disciple Fan Xin thanks the elders. Young man, choose a less winding path. Focus on cultivation. It seemed that he was giving him some hidden advice. And you're right. The disciple will redouble his efforts to elevate the Chenyun sect. You sweet talker, go. The elder ended the conversation. It felt like he knew what Xin had done, as if he had some hidden knowledge, but he didn't say it directly. Junior Fan, listen to me and hide the spiritual stone as soon as possible. We need to return quickly. There's no need to linger here. Senior? Why are you so nervous? You barely whispered. Don't you know there are hooligans who steal stones? If we delay and they stop us, they will beat us and take everything. Do you want to deal with them? Isn't the sect supposed to frown upon this? It's forbidden in principle, but no one cares. Even if we get robbed, the elders will see it as a minor skirmish among outer disciples. Furthermore, you've just joined the sect and have no support. They could beat you to death. In the end, the sect will say it was an error and punish the attacker with a year of imprisonment. How scary, Xin thought to himself, grabbing his head. But out loud he said, that's exactly what I'm aiming for. Well, luck decided to favor him. Senior you, you're too early today. Remember the sunshine, here's a ray. Before them stood the very hooligan they had been talking about a couple of minutes ago. Junior Yu Sanlian greets Senior Liu. Where's the respect? He barked and looked down at both of them. I've already honored you with a spiritual stone during the last assembly. I kindly request Senior Liu to show indulgence and leave the junior his stone. Sanlian begged on his knees. What? Are you haggling with me? I wouldn't dare. And he already held out his stone in his palms. And you're right. Tossing the stone, he tucked it away in his pocket. Hey kid, it's your turn. Where's your spiritual stone? Fan Xin, gathering all his pride and hiding it far away, stood before him, bowing his head. Kid, I'm asking you. Senior Liu, this junior has just recently joined the sect and is unfamiliar with the rules. Yu tried to stand up for Xin. Maybe out of respect for me this time, Yu. But he didn't finish. Senior Liu kicked him away like a trash bag. Respect? Who are you to have me acknowledge you? All Yu could do was grit his teeth in pain. Senior Liu, you are a good person with deep self-cultivation and a delicate sense of justice. I've just joined the sect and would like to get to know the elders in the sect. Would you please accept this spiritual stone? Now Fan pretended to be a submissive boy. "You're smarter than that fat pig on Earth." He was about to reach out, but then the precious stone fell. Oops, almost broke it. Shin bent down to pick it up. "Newcomer, just joined the sect. Never heard that spiritual stones could break." Fan Shin was no stranger to being a bandit and skilled in theft. So it's not surprising that in such a short period, he ended up with a flying sword in his hands, which he thrust straight into Liu's abdomen, twisting it several times inside the man's body. He couldn't even utter a word for the first couple of seconds due to the sudden surge of pain. "Kid, how dare you suddenly attack me?" "Senior Liu, aren't you supposed to be more vigilant as a robber? Now I'll show you." He tore off his kimono and prepared to fight Liu, but he continued to stand in bewilderment. A low-ranking magical artifact, a flying sword, with 7 engraved formations. "Aren't you looking for this?" "Sorry, Senior, but I've already taken it." Another disciple of the Thunder Sky sect hated Fan Shin. He made a sudden move, and now Liu was lying on the ground. "Damn it," he could only manage to say. Shin broke his dantian, and now he couldn't release his spiritual energy. "Junior Fan, it's better to return the flying sword to him. He received it in the magical artifact pavilion. You can't take artifacts that disciples obtained in that pavilion. If you decide to steal, the sect elders will come for your soul," warned Yu. "Get lost, scoundrel. You along with this brat. As soon as my wounds heal, I'll come for your soul. I'm afraid you won't have another chance. Do you dare to kill me? Don't talk nonsense. We're in the sect." "So you do understand where we are? Don't worry. I'll be careful and try not to kill you," Fan promised. Liu's screams were loud, but since they were in the forest, no one heard them. He only had 5 spiritual stones, right? Fan counted the stones in his right hand, juggling them. The flying sword is a useful thing, but he won't be able to use it. "Junior. Fan, you didn't harm his dantian, did you?" "Don't worry. I just beat him up enough so that his ring will slowly heal. It will take 3 to 5 months for it to fully recover." Yu's eyes widened in fear. "Won't he come for revenge after that time?" "Even if he shows up, I'll beat him up again," Fan declared. "Here, take these. They'll come in handy. Since you're like my friend now, I won't allow them to harm you." Yu handed him a couple of spiritual stones. Fan Shin had long noticed that the Thunder Sky sect was just like a den of bandits. Either you intimidate and rob, or you get robbed. That's the law of the jungle. Sanlian was shocked to hear such words. "I didn't expect to hear such words from such a young person." "You mean you didn't like me before?" No. I realized you were a special person back in the medicinal field." And they continued to walk home. Meanwhile, in the mountains, amid the natural tranquility, 2 mentors were playing Wei Qi. "I heard that our uncle," the mentor, "descended from the mountain today and personally distributed spiritual stones to the outer disciples," the bearded one remarked. "I just decided to take a walk," replied the other, rearranging the stones. "To establish contact with that disciple?" The first one moved a stone. "Let's not talk about that. Let's just play." He turned his face to the sky, inhaling the clean, cool air. Meanwhile, Fan Shin finally broke through to the 2nd level of spiritual cultivation. Even without releasing energy, his body became significantly lighter. That guy was at the 3rd level of spiritual cultivation. If I hadn't stabbed Duntian and blocked his spiritual power at that moment, it would have been extremely bad. When he comes for revenge, I'm afraid I won't have such an opportunity again. I'll have to face him head-on. By that time, I must become even stronger, he continued to develop. With the help of a ring, he took out a sword, concentrated, entered a state of chi energy, and activated the sword. It took a lot of his strength because the sword began to transform, and instead of it, there was now a 9-headed serpent. He barely managed to revert the sword back and put it back into the ring. With my cultivation level, it's extremely difficult for me to handle this sword. Knock. Knock. Fatty had arrived again. "Junior Fan, I've come to invite you. Did you even sleep today?" "I really didn't sleep because I wanted to finish my training. If you didn't bring me wine and meat every day, I wouldn't even open the door for you," Fan added to himself, almost dying of hunger. "Don't say that. We need to alternate rest and cultivation, but right now, it's not about that. Let's have a drink. The cups clinked. I really don't understand how you managed to drink so much. Like this. In our valet, I could drink several barrels your size. Sin said with pleasure, almost licking the cup. By the way, do you remember Hao Xin? Is he the guy who beat me up with Xiaoman? Our hero frowned. Of course I remember. When I meet him again, I'll beat him up just like before. Absolutely not, Fatty warned. You have no idea who he is. Hao Xin is one of the few who gained A-ranked abilities in the last few years. The elders believe that this year, Xin will break through to the 4th level of spiritual cultivation and earn the title of Inner Disciple. A few days ago, 3 disciples with the 3rd level of cultivation tried to stop Hu Xin in the Sisia Valley. They probably thought that since he was alone, they could compete with him. But who could have expected that he would defeat all 3 of them with a single strike? The rumor of this has already spread throughout the sect. As far as I remember, you had a good relationship with him. He helped you skip the line and get registered in the sect, Fan recalled. Don't make fun of me. Before entering the sect, he was very kind to me. But as soon as I entered, he immediately changed. Not long ago, I met him in the workers' section, and he didn't even look at me, you lamented. Judging by your tone, you're upset. Will you try to curry favor with him in public? Let's not talk about it. He seemed uncomfortable with the topic. By the way, didn't you ask me to inform you when the Phantom Market opens again? Do you mean it will be operational again? Fan asked hopefully, looking at Sanlian. 3 days later, the Phantom Market opened. Instead of 2 guards at the entrance, now there were 8. This time, Fan Xin decided to impersonate a pretty young girl. It seemed that after the incident, the members of the Phantom Market had learned a lot. Elder, wait. What's the purpose of your visit? One of them asked Fan Xin, who was in the girl's body. Since I'm here, I need materials for cultivation. So why are you asking nonsense questions? Haven't you heard about the robbery at the Phantom Market 3 months ago? Because of that person, we had to strengthen security, another one added. Please show us what you brought for evaluation. Fine. Since I'm here, I'll follow the rules. But you'll have to thoroughly inspect my items, the girl said ironically, handing over a pouch. It was filled to the brim with gold coins. Listen, I came to buy a flying sword, and that's why I brought money. If you're so rich, be careful not to get robbed, the guard warned. Thank you, Elder, for being accommodating. Please, go ahead. All right, let's do it. This damned thief is to blame for everything. As soon as Fan Xin passed the guards, they continued to stare at the girl's figure. This girl has such a juicy body. Stop ogling her. I can't help it. The market was bustling with activity. Traders and sellers were everywhere. Come and see, they called out incessantly. Wherever Fan Xin went, people turned and stared at him for a long time. There were now many more people than before, and all of them were at the 2nd level of spiritual cultivation, with some at the 3rd level. The mask turned me into a girl. This is so inconvenient. It seems that the previous incident scared the newcomers, and now the veterans are wandering around here. It won't be easy to pull off what I did last time. Great selection. A wide variety. That's why this male trader caught his attention. Only 30 gold coins. Be careful on your way back, Elder. Fan Xin wished him luck, handing over the bag to a certain master. Meanwhile, Sin approached his rug, where the items for sale were displayed. She has a keen eye. This flying sword has a powerful magic formation. The seller noticed to himself and started imitating it a bit but didn't show it. You can buy it for... Is this sword authentic? Fan Xin interrupted the seller. The trader's face, already pale from the month's light, grew even paler now. The magic formation on the flying sword seems intact, but in reality, it's damaged. It can hardly be used. If someone decides to test it here, nothing will happen. But with regular use, it will inevitably break. And these spiritual stones, how did you make them? In terms of color and smell, they are no different from the real ones. Fan Xin pronounced his verdict on the quality of the items. Do you know what they'll do to you for selling fakes at the Phantom Market? He was already covered in large beads of sweat. The elder has such sharp eyes. It seems I've encountered an expert. The younger one hesitated for a moment, asking the elder to close her eyes to this. He no longer shouted for everyone to come and take his goods. Easily, I'm a person who values talents. You're just wasting your time using your skills to create fakes. Let's do this. If you tell me your real name and provide a certain service, then your deeds will remain a secret. Offered, a compromise by Sin. He was already reaching for the plaque hanging on his cloak, but the girl beat him to it. Not the one hanging on your cloak, but the one you hide in your pocket. The merchant finally understood that he was caught. Nevertheless, he still handed over the plaque. It said, "External disciple of Huaqianji." I see. What do you want me to do for you? He asked the girl, immediately hiding his plaque. Nothing for now. I'll let you know when I come up with something, she promised. Out of the corner of his eye, Sin noticed some movement in a certain area of the market. Something's going on over there. Wait for me here. And he left, leaving Hua in bewilderment. Well, I'll wait. In the middle of the square sat a man. He looked like the others, completely unremarkable. A mask on his face, in a long yellow kimono with black trim. What is he selling? Why are there so many people here? This is a demonic spiritual pill. The demonic spiritual pill costs hundreds of spiritual stones. I've never seen this guy before, but he insists on exchanging it for purified stone powder. This is excessive. How can you exchange it for whatever you want? He approached closer. Next to the man on a cloth lay the demonic spiritual pill, the essence of a large number of spiritual stones, purified by the sect and by a special method. This is important material for the breakthrough pill. In the early stages of cultivation, it is very difficult to reach the 4th and 7th levels, as well as the level of a perfect spirit. Achieving these levels is incredibly difficult. So many people stay at one level for their whole life. It's much easier to break through these 3 stages with the breakthrough pill. Whether it's the breakthrough pill itself or purified stone powder, everything is strictly controlled by the sect, and it's not easy to get them. Such control is maintained by the sect and large families in order to determine the fates of cultivators. If you want to obtain it, either give away all your wealth or take the reward for great achievement. It seems that this man is at the peak of the 3rd level of cultivation. He wants to try his luck and break through to the 4th level with the breakthrough pill, Fan Xin understood. Maybe the sect is turning a blind eye to the existence of the ghost market. But if purified stone powder appears here, the market will have to close again. Sin was not satisfied with this. Wait, he's in a hurry to break through from the 3rd level to the 4th? Can he be... Fan approached the man and whispered to him, "Don't say anything, follow me," and walked into the depths of the forest. Elder. He was confused and followed her. And it's true. It's the voice of Hu Xin. He continued to walk deeper into the forest on a paved road. Elder, do you have purified stone powder? Qin thought that this was the reason the girl called him, but he didn't expect that this girl would hit him. You! What are you doing? I've never met an idiot like you. Even if it's the ghost market, who would trade openly like this? She scolded him. If the sect finds out about this, they will start a thorough investigation of every visitor. You, me, everyone here will meet their end. Who decided to suppress his anger? The elder taught me that you should not be too impatient and reckless. May I ask, purified stone powder? I can really get it, but the price for it will be extremely high. If you talk too much and rumors spread, not only I, even my father. Forget it. Such trash won't understand, even if you explain everything to them. She looked at him disdainfully. Please, elder, don't worry. The younger one also comes from a noble family. As soon as I successfully make the breakthrough, I will say that it's thanks to the item brought by my clan. No harm to the elder, he assured her. It's clear. This is arrogance. And the father she mentioned, this girl is from one of the richest families in the world. Her father must hold a high position in the sect. It makes sense. Only such people can afford such rare things, he noted to himself. Agreed. Well, you understand the situation. But one demonic pill won't be enough. she stated her requirements. It's purified from the inner pill of a third-class monster. Its spiritual energy is equivalent to 100 spiritual stones. Maybe I should add 1 or 2 more? Suggested Hu. 4. The younger one can't get so much. He shook his head in the direction. Well, okay, since we're done, I'll pretend I never saw you. Elder, don't hurry. He grabbed her shoulder. 4. So 4. I agree. But I'll need a few days to prepare. Of course. After all, I'll also need some time to get the purified stone powder. In 9 days at noon, I'll go to the Hualin Valley. Wait for me there. Show up as soon as I give the signal. Clap your hands 3 times. Fan Xin had already thought about their next meeting. Don't forget to bring what we agreed on. And Fan Xin, in the guise of a girl, disappeared into the crowd. Yes, by that time, Xin approached the fake merchant on the ghost market. Junior Hua, tomorrow I will send someone to you. He will say what is needed. Don't worry, you are in good hands. Elder, may I ask what is needed after all? The seller tried to find out some details. You will find out when the time comes. She waved her hand and left. As she approached the exit, the guards called out to her. Elder, it's too early for you to leave. True, because I've already bought what I need. Hua Qianji sat tensely in his house, listening to every rustle. At the moment when the sound of a knock was heard, the apex of fear reached its limit. Who's there? Trembling voice, trying not to show any curiosity, Huai asked. In front of him stood a little boy. Older brother. Someone asked me to give you this letter. It was Fan Xin, in his natural appearance. Looking around, Huai pulled the boy into his house. Who else is with someone? Where does she live? Tell me everything. He tried to extract information from Xin. If you carry anything mysterious, I will make you suffer. I don't know anything. While fetching water, I noticed that the eldest came over. Fan pretended to be foolish. She said this letter is for you. Huai noticed a yellow stain between the boy's legs. And also she said you'd reward me when I deliver the message. Analyzing the boy's facial expression and the emotions playing on it, as well as the stain on his pants, he threw him out the door. She sent cannon fodder. You won't get any answers. I won't give you any reward. Get out of here quickly. Rubbing his bruised spot, Fan Xin said goodbye. By the way, the older sister asked me to pass something. If you do everything as stated in the letter, you won't be out of business. If you can't handle it, she'll turn to someone else. Huai could barely hear Xin's last words. Since that's the case, I must do everything in my power to help that girl. And quickly began to scan the lines of the letter with his eyes. Purified stone powder? 9 days later, Fan Xin returned to the fake merchant in his female disguise. Not bad. I didn't mistake you. Obviously, it's just stone powder covered in spiritual liquid, but in color and smell, just like purified. He praised Huai. I used to work in the pill district, and I was lucky enough to learn what purified stone powder looks like. I've seen many processing methods that make sand look real. He was pleased that the elder, whose keen eye saw his talent, and praised him. I'll keep my word. With these words, he threw him a tightly packed pouch. The elder is so polite, in fact, Seeing the golden coins, he wanted to say something, but didn't finish because the girl had already disappeared. Now the older sister stood in the Huailin Valley and clapped her hands 3 times. Almost immediately, some strange noise rose. Fan Xin immediately grabbed a dagger behind his back, but to his surprise, it was a little black kitten. Phew, he sighed. But he was wrong. It wasn't a cat. You're an hour late. I've been waiting. Behind him, he turned into Hu Qing. I asked you to come around 10 in the evening, but I didn't say I'd be there myself by that time. I didn't even notice him when he was so close. It seems that the gap in cultivation is much higher than I thought. Moreover, he is ruthless. I should be even more careful. Thoughts raced in Xin's head at an unprecedented speed. Did you bring the purified stone bag? Sharp brown eyes stared at him. Where are my demonic spiritual pills? With a single movement of 2 fingers, Hu created dozens of swords around him. Elder, this is not the illusory market. Do you think you can stand against me with your cultivation? Kid, don't play with me. If you decide to attack, be prepared for the consequences. Abnormal Hao Qing. Is he going to rob a thief? And what of it? There are thousands of disciples in the sect. Let them try to find me. He retorted. Elder, I advise you to know your place. Give me the purified stone powder, and you won't get hurt. And Fan Xin handed him the pouch. He started examining it with some confusion. Hu Qing, do you think I wouldn't recognize you? You. He figured he had nothing left but to attack her. A flick of his finger, and the swords stopped. A moment later, an energy discharge caused them to shatter. If you touch me like this, I just want to make a deal. As you said, my cultivation is higher than mine, and what I lack now is magical weapons. If we start fighting, you'll only bring trouble upon yourself. I was sure I was safe because I thought she was just an ignorant rich girl from the sect. I never expected her to expose my identity, and to have magical weapons as well. She was well prepared. He already regretted his decision to simply take the stone powder.